right? We talk about movie moments, like as in like this couldn't be real life. This would only happen in a movie, right? And it almost is unbelievable for a movie. Like if you saw a movie about this whole thing, and then like, oh, and then he returns the first kick for a touchdown. And I think I saw I saw Josh Allen, his post-game press conference, where he talked about the fact that I think it had been 3 years and 3 days or something like that since there had been a kick, and so like obviously DeMar Hamlin's number is number 3. You saw the tweet there, OMFG. I know the O stands for O and the M stands for my, and the G stands for God. But Connor, do you know what the F stands for?
No.
You're one of the young ones. What is the OMFG?
Fabulous?
Fabulous?
Oh, my fabulous God.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it, but we'll get Blake, I need you to do research on that, what that F stands for. I'm not sure what it does.
So the Bills take care of business. Freaking. Oh, my freaking God. Oh, my frick God.
Freaking, but with a U.
DeMar Hamlin live tweeting during the game.
Yeah.
That was cool.
It's just tremendous.
Super great.
It's excellent to see.
Great.
The Bills.
There was some good and there was some bad this weekend, but
yes,
there was one great, and it was that. So
the Bills take care of business against New England. New England does not make the playoffs. The Bills, led by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, for the large part, the story of their season.
Yeah, look, I mean, Josh Allen is hashtag good. There you go. Analysis. There we got to go. This is, by the way, that's John. Is that Diggs? That's the Diggs one.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Diggs one. There was a longer pass to John Brown, and everyone's like, wait a minute. Brown? Who's Brown? I'm like, John Brown?
Smokey.
Like Smokey Brown?
Yes, he's back.
Like, he's back. Like, where has he been? 2007, Smokey Brown? Like, he can still fly. Anyway, so, Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things and coming through when you needed him to do 20 or more fantasy points each of his final 4 games this season. Finishes as the 3rd best quarterback in fantasy in Week 18. So if you had your championship in Week 18, in a game in which you needed Josh Allen, he delivered. Obviously understanding that, if you had Josh Allen last week, chances are, maybe it was a 2-week playoff. It's one of the reasons why, by the way, we haven't figured this all out. And this is probably not the show for this. But I believe, tell me what you think about this.
Sure.
Well, I don't like Week 8. I don't like playing fantasy football in Week 18. I don't. But I do like the idea of a 2-week playoff. So, like back in my old home, back at ESPN, the standard format was the last 4 weeks of the season were 2 different 2-week playoff periods. And the reason I like a 2-week playoff period is because of things that happened last week, or you happen to play against somebody that just you play against Alvin Kamara with a 6-touchdown game, and you're just like, oh, you know what I mean? And your entire season has gone down. Right.
Like
so it just
why the World Series isn't a one-off.
Right, or the NBA Finals, right? There's multiple games. So I would like teams to either start their playoffs a week early to do 2-week playoffs, or semi-radical idea, do head-to-head and you get into the playoffs. But once you're in the playoffs, the 6 teams that are in the playoffs, there's no more head-to-head. It's just total points for whatever the 4-week period, the 3-week period of the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, firstly, you said this isn't the show to discuss this. I kind of feel like it is, as we are a fantasy football show.
And it is postseason.
So maybe this is a good show to discuss it. Yeah, I think that
no waiver wires today, folks.
I think there's kind of an obsession across fantasy and across all sports of the best team needs to win. I'm not about that. The best team doesn't have to win. The Giants beat the Pats in 2007, and that's fantastic. You don't have to have. I like fluky wins so long as the format is set and you have a path to winning. So I would say the best way to do it is, yes, a month of playoffs, 2-week matchup in weeks 14, 15, and then 16, 17. And yes, it's a little weird that you're starting the playoffs in week 14, but so be it. I think that's the best way to do it.
It's tricky. I'm of both, because yours is rewarding the best team, which ultimately is how things should be.
It's how it should be. Not Black Hat over here wants chaos.
Yes, right. Always.
I'm a chaos merchant.
Yes, you are absolutely a chaos merchant.
That is, by the way, I think you just came up with your own nickname, the Merchant of
Chaos.
Chaos.
Merchant of Chaos.
Jay Croucher.
MOC.
That's 1,000%.
Mock.
You absolutely are. You like chaos. You like to spoil movies.
How can I exploit a situation? Yes.
You literally you literally do. If we put a handlebar mustache on him, he literally would be like the villain in the old Dudley Do-Right cartoon.
We can do a top hat.
Right, exactly. Just like a little, just like that's you. You are the human embodiment of it.
I do love mayhem. Never done that before, but
yeah, exactly. Whenever those insurance commercials need a new mayhem, that's you.
I'll do that.
Fantastic. You know what? I've just been told my ear that Australian for chaos is Jay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lives up to it.
Yes,
Well, Foster's also Australian for beer.
The vaunted Australian language.
Yeah, exactly.
Close neighbor of Portuguese. Yeah.
The last notable thing from this game, guys, from a fantasy perspective.
Where are you? No, you finish where you were. Where do you vote on my proposal here?
I vote on yours because I.
What a surprise! Unbelievable. Connor wants to come back for next season.
He's no dummy.
He knows
Yeah,
he's
I'm an idiot.
He's no dummy.
Yeah, I'm thinking long term. I'm not thinking short term. What I actually care about.
Yeah, 100%. Good for you.
Yes.
You know what? It wouldn't kill you to suck up once in a while. Just so you know.
Jason Connor saying Garrett Wilson should be offensive rookie of the year. Robert Saleh coach of the year.
Over 1,100
Mike
yards.
White MVP.
Yeah, you know
Mike
what?
White MVP.
You know what? Listen, Connor Rogers.
How about that
is the
Kenny
only person-
Pickett selection?
Connor Rogers
by
is
the
the only
way?
smart person at this table.
Yes.
Good.
Finally.
Yeah,
I figured it
exactly.
out. It took me. What?
Yeah.
16 weeks? Really? Yeah, just about.
Let's talk about James Cook.
Yeah. Let's finish up this game. Nothing crazy with the backfield, guys. The split's notable, but James Cook gets 7 fantasy points. Motor Singletary, 2.2. The workload on each, just nothing crazy here with the Bills' backfield to close out the season.
Yeah, they couldn't really run the ball. They've never really been able to run the ball under
and they
Josh
don't
Allen.
usually care when they can't run the ball. That's the
No,
funny thing.
it's a strange thing, and you would think that with having Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and the vertical element of Gabe Davis, this should be the easiest place in town
Yes.
to be able to run the ball. But the offensive line's just never been a super strength, and I think it's probably going to trend towards James Cook next season, just because he'll have another year in the system, another off season. But yeah, it's just not a situation that you're ecstatic about. Just the last thing on this game as well.
Singletary also lost a bad fumble in this game as well, so that may have had something to do with it. But look, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was just going to say, to your point about James Cook, James Cook is the future. The question is just whether the future is next week or next year. But James Cook is the future.
Yep. Yeah. Can Josh Allen stop throwing interceptions? He's had 29 the past 2 seasons, lost 13 fumbles. I think this is just part of his game.
Live by the sword, die by the sword with Josh Allen.
I guess that's just what it is. But, I mean, that's the thing that separates him from Mahomes. To be fair, he's only separated from Mahomes. He's probably the second best quarterback.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to leave his game, I think.
But I also just again, other than Stephon Diggs, who scares you on that defense? I mean, we all had such high expectations for Gabe Davis, who was a preseason sleeper for me and has been sleeping. Yeah. I mean, he's been incredibly inconsistent. You think about, whatever. They lost Jamison Crowder in the preseason, kind of a veteran presence. I mean, they had to dust off Cole Beasley.
And Smokey Brown.
Right, and Smokey Brown.
Real dusty times.
I mean, you really dusty times in Buffalo. I mean, they traded for Nyheim Hines, who, by the way, was the hero.
Yes.
Thank goodness this past Sunday. It just doesn't. Listen, Isaiah McKenzie has had some flashes, right? They've had players that have had flashes, but for a team as good as they are, it doesn't feel like after Allen and Diggs that there's a lot of people that you're sort of like, what? Yep. We got to shut that guy down. Right? I mean, think about the Bengals, right? Compare them to the Bengals, where you're like, well, you got Higgins and you've got Chase, and you're like, Mixon's better than any running back the Bills have, right? And Burrow may not be Josh Allen, but he ain't far behind. No, so it just, I don't know. I mean, Tyler Boyd's as good as any non-Stephon Diggs wide receiver on the Bills. Sure. He doesn't have the explosiveness of a Gabe Davis, but he's got more consistent. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yep.
It's a weird one.
I think it'll be a big mission for them in the offseason to figure out who is the Robin to Stephon Diggs' Batman, because this flashes of Dawson Knox one week here and there, but they really need another guy.
They had hopes for Gabe Davis. I mean, again, he's only 23.
Yep.
He's only 23. I don't know how he profiled coming out of college. I mean, they had high hopes for Gabe Davis, and it just hasn't materialized the way they thought it would in his first full season as a starter.
Let's stay in the AFC playoff picture and get to the Bengals that you brought up. The Bengals avoid the coin flip. They set up a rematch with the Ravens. They beat Anthony Brown. At times, Jay, I know we said this off the air, it felt a little bit more difficult than it had to be. But at the end of the day, as you see the AFC playoff picture up here, if you're watching us on Peacock.
We're all in on the AFC. We got the Chargers-Jags on Saturday night. We got the Ravens-Bengals on Sunday night. That's on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man. There are no other playoff games worth watching. It's only those two.
To be fair,
only those two.
NBC's done well to dodge Bills-Dolphins, because that's the worst game.
What are you saying? You saying you don't want to see Skylar Thompson?
Not really. No. I think Tyreek Hill limping around on one ankle.
It is. In all seriousness, so we got this is a little bit of inside baseball. But the fact of the matter is that the Monday night game had to be a 5-4 game because they didn't want to reset the seeds and everything like that because whoever wins that game is traveling on a short week. So they just know whoever wins that game just immediately goes to where they go. So whatever. So Brady and Dak are going to Monday Night Football. But if you look at the rest of the playoff picture, here over on NBC and Peacock, we start off with Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Herbert. Yep. It's a pretty good matchup. Two very young, exciting, hairy quarterbacks. I always, they're both, not follically challenged the way I am. Very excited about the hair on both those guys. The lettuce bowl. I like that.
Let's roll with it.
Exactly. The lettuce bowl Saturday night. And then Sunday night, Lamar Jackson, in theory, coming back,
that's the
and
kid,
Joe Burrow. And Joe
Matters
Burrow.
a lot.
Yeah.
I know. By the way, watch me sitting here making fun of Skylar Thompson. We get stuck with Anthony Brown. Right? But whatever.
Hey, Anthony Brown looked all right yesterday. I guess we're going to get into that.
All right, let's
Anyway,
that's the playoff picture as well. The Dolphins win. They're in. They are playing the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the Chiefs have the number 1 seed. And then you also got, you've got Chargers at Jaguars because the Jaguars won the division. And then you've got the Ravens going to Cincinnati in a rematch. It was clear that Baltimore was like, we feel pretty confident we're going to have to play you guys next week.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a look at anything.
Yeah.
This is going to be Vanilla City.
Very weird game from Cincinnati. I guess they just got up early and then it was just kind of foot off the gas. But Joe Burrow had a 23 QBR. We've talked about QBR before. There's no need to go into it, but it's 0 to 100 and he was 23. Jamar Chase went off and Jamar Chase just lights up the Ravens secondary every single time he plays them. They just don't have the speed back there to keep up with him. Yeah. Not many do, but the weird thing is that the Bengals could not run the ball at all. They averaged 2.8 yards per carry, just couldn't get anything going despite playing with the lead all game. And Matthew and I lost some money on some props around the Bengals-Ravens game, which we won't go into. But wasn't super pleased with the Bengals'
We had a prop bet that Bengals would win. They would have the most receiving yards and the most rushing yards. And we thought, well, this is, the Ravens are clearly phoning this one in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And not only did we not win that bet, we didn't even hit the majority of it. The Bengals won, but the Ravens had more receiving yards and more passing yards and more rushing yards. By the way, and not particularly close.
Anthony Brown destroyed Joe Burrow in this matchup by passing yards perspective anyway.
He attempted 44 passes, 286 yards, and let's talk about that. Isaiah Likely.
The standout for sure.
Isaiah Likely, who we loved in the preseason. We didn't know it would take us 18 weeks to get the Isaiah.
We actually got there.
Just needed Anthony Brown this entire time to
What a list this is, by the way.
Right.
The fantasy tight end leaders from Week 18, Matthew Berry. Don't you love it?
Lawrence Cager. I actually called that.
Jordan Akins. When the Texans don't get a franchise player at number 1 overall, that you can thank Jordan Akins. He's the reason they have the number 2 overall pick. Kittle against Arizona, that should have been a no-brainer for all of us. Isaiah Likely comes in at 3, Cole Kmet at 4, and then Lawrence Cager, who I suspect could walk up to most people and say, "Hi, my name's Lawrence Cager, I'm an NFL player," and people wouldn't know if he was actually telling the truth or not. But let's talk about Isaiah Likely, 8 for 103 on 13 targets, and looked the real deal to me. And I bring this up, not that there's any, but I just think that's a name to be kept on people's radars. This is somebody that got a ton of hype, guys, in the preseason, somebody they really liked in Baltimore in the preseason. We had Peter King on our preseason shows. He went to every camp, and he's like, what was your impression from Baltimore? And he said, draft Isaiah Likely. And then it just never happened.
Yeah. Why doesn't this guy play more, Connor? Why doesn't he play more for the Ravens? They clearly need receiving weapons.
And they are a 2 tight end team. The problem is Mark Andrews usually eats their targets, and the second tight end has been a Nick Boyle kind of player that just blocks. And that's not Isaiah Likely. He's a high-cut guy, came out of Coastal Carolina's offense, where he was a big wide receiver. But the problem is he's a really good wide receiver. So the Ravens have a lot of soul-searching to do in the offseason to figure out, how do we stress the middle of the field with both tight ends in the pass game, not just one?
And by the way,
just play him at receiver at this point.
Big slot. He should be a big slot.
Again, right, exactly. Because at this point, he was, for fantasy-wise, we'd like him to qualify at tight end, right? Just because it's such a desolate position. But, when you think, for Baltimore, it was such a weird year. Okay, so they didn't have Gus Edwards or Dobbins to start the year. And Dobbins was in and out of the lineup. Gus Edwards was in and out of the lineup. There was a Kenyon Drake period that we don't need to talk about.
It's the dog hero,
right? But anyway, then they lose Rashad Bateman, and then suddenly Devin Duvernay is the thing, and then they lose Duvernay, and they're running like James Prochet and Demarcus Robinson out there,
Deshaun
and
Jackson,
the ghost of Deshaun Jackson, because apparently Smokey Brown was on the Bills. Like as long as they were going like old obscure wide receivers, let's be. Lamar played bad this year, like he was for Lamar.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot to work with, to be fair.
I understand. He did not have a lot to work with. There's no question about it. But I'm just saying, and he's a victim of his own success. But my point is I don't think if you looked at the body of work that Lamar Jackson played at a level we're used to seeing Lamar Jackson play at. Was he better than, pick a bad quarterback, Russell Wilson? Yes, but
great choice.
The thing is though with Lamar, he's been at this same level since the 2019 MVP season where he's the best player in the sport. 2020, 21, 22, he's kind of been this same guy who's not a top 4 quarterback in the NFL, but knocking on the door. But he's the 2019 guy that hasn't been there for a while now.
And it felt like they had some Tyler Huntley, and now, they've had Anthony Brown. Like, how many games has Lamar Jackson missed at this point? Like, it feels like 5, 6 maybe?
Yep, similar amount at the end of last season.
Yeah, so hopefully he's back for the playoffs.
Yep.
He'd better be.
He's going to be the quarterback of our Jets next season.
Listen, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not actually going to know if he's going to play or not until you tune in to NBC and Peacock. So I'm just going to tell you right now, he's absolutely playing, 100%. And, if it turns out he's not, we've already got their rating. They've already tuned it in. So, don't tell them that. But basically, what I'm saying, let's just pretend that we know for sure he's playing just to juice the ratings.
I like
All right, anyway, so Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson. There you go. Sunday night on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man.
Oh, boy. I like that you talked about the Kenyon Drake era that we don't talk about. It's like when David Duchovny left the X-Files.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about. Yeah. Just don't talk about Kenyon Drake era. Just move on.
Yeah, it was just like
let's talk about the Eagles.
Like it didn't exist. Same thing with when they replaced Bo and Luke Duke on Dukes of Hazzard, going kind of old school here. Yeah, they brought in Coy and Vance.
Further back. Remember,
no one wants to do. We don't talk about.
We don't talk about it. We don't know about it. We don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. No one really talks about the Hilary Swank version of the Karate Kid. Don't talk about that one. It's all Ralph Macchio.
The Point Break remake.
Yeah, exactly. There's just some things that we just pretend didn't exist.
Yes, like Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Moving over to the NFC, Jalen Hurts returns. The Eagles clinch the #1 seed. As we look at the NFC playoff picture at the top, guys, it wasn't.
By the way, Kenyon Drake was actually good yesterday.
Yeah, good for
as we spent 20 minutes just crapping on Kenyon Drake.
I know, but it had almost 80 total yards and a touchdown. And a week.
3.8 yards per carry.
I know.
He's probably, what did I ever do to these guys? Nothing wrong. The NFC playoff picture at the top here. The Cowboys take on the Bucs. The Giants will have a somewhat of a rematch against the Vikings after they lost them just a couple weeks ago. And you see Seattle and the 49ers at the bottom there. Not the same spirit as the AFC, but still compelling.
No, the truth of the matter is, all seriousness, whatever. So Dak versus Brady, great. But then, Geno Smith versus Brock Purdy, or Daniel Jones versus Kirk Cousins. I really do feel like NBC got the best quarterback matchups.
Yes, I would agree with that. But
because we know for sure Lamar Jackson is playing.
Yes. How do you feel, Matthew, that your ride or die got outplayed by Davis Webb?
Not good.
He did not look good, Jalen Hurts. That was probably maybe the biggest thing out of the week.
They looked bad. Yeah. They looked bad. The line got up to 17.5, and I took the 17.5. I thought the Eagles were going to kill them. When they started Davis Webb, and they're starting basically all backups, you're like, okay, the Giants aren't even trying. The Eagles really need this game. And honestly, because they need to win this game to clinch the home field advantage throughout the NFC and the #1 seed, and they looked terrible. Now, I put this out on Twitter. I said, hey, Eagles fans, you follow me, right? You guys, this is your first game back. This is Jalen Hurts' first game back in 3 weeks. And he looked rusty, right? The whole offense looked rusty. And now, again, okay, so they win the game and they get the first round bye. But it's going to be now another 2 weeks before Jalen Hurts plays meaningful football. He's going to have basically one meaningful football game in the last 6 weeks, I think. Last 5 or 6 weeks. You worried? Like I said, hey, Eagles fans, you guys worried at all, or you guys got this? And everyone was like, nah, we got this. They were specifically running a vanilla offense. They just wanted to sort of win and get out of there. They weren't trying anything fancy. They were specifically being conservative not to get Jalen Hurts further hurt because he was coming off the injury and was less than 100%. And I hear all that, and that all makes total sense. but still. He looked rusty to me. The whole offense looked bleh.
He looked like he couldn't throw. That's the issue, is that physically he just didn't look right. Maybe another 2 weeks, like maybe he'll look better. He probably will. But again, the other thing too is that Jalen Hurts, I think that as the season goes on, as we get used to these guys, their new baselines of play, and we just think, oh, Jalen Hurts, the MVP candidate. Like, Jalen Hurts isn't Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Like, he hasn't got this established level of play. Like, he's had a really good season, but he came into the season, people were thinking he was the 16th best quarterback in the NFL. Not Matthew, but most people. So I would be a little bit concerned that against this Giants secondary, which was already bad and was now playing backups, that he couldn't really do anything. But look, they get the bye. I'm sure he'll look better, but certainly a concern for the Eagles.
It makes me wonder, what is the worst roster that Brian Daboll could compete with in the NFL at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence Cager. I mean, there's some names on here that I don't even recognize, to be honest, on the backups on defense. Like, it was impressive. And, I mean, they were an onside kick away from really creating havoc.
We get into something else, but, Brian Daboll, well, I just want to say this. Like, Brian Daboll has done such an amazing job, such an incredible job for this New York Giants team, that I actually think he's hurt the coaching profession, and I'll tell you why. No, because what he's done is, I want to say, almost close to impossible. And the fact is that because of what he's done is almost close to impossible, that's why you see stuff like Lovie Smith being fired. And there's a lot of issues in Houston, and I think there's more than just. But the fact is that there are now NFL team owners that are like, why didn't you turn this around in a year? Brian Daboll did. Doug Peterson did.
Pete Carroll did it as well. The Seahawks won 9 games this year.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Win total's 5.5.
Yeah,
They had a lot of injuries as well.
1,000%. So I mean, when you see these anomalies like that, then you have these other impatient owners. Anyway, we don't have to get into the Houston thing. I think something's rotten in Denmark in Houston as to why 2 African American coaches were fired after 1 year, each after getting only 1 year, for a team that had absolutely no talent on it whatsoever.
Rosters.
Pitiful, literally worst rosters in the NFL, and given 1 year. And I'll say, like, I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan, but that team competed.
And so did Cully's team down to the wire.
1,000%. Like
that
team, like, never gave up, never phoned it in. You never saw a performance from them like you saw out of the Broncos under Nathaniel Hackett, like, when the Rams just ran over put a 50 burger on them.
Yep.
Like, you never saw that out of the Texans, who probably, arguably, very likely have the worst roster in the NFL, top to bottom, from a talent standpoint, and yet they always competed. They almost beat Kansas City. They almost beat Dallas, right? I mean, anyway, and they beat, they won last year against the Colts. I don't know, like, again, I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan, but that guy got screwed.
You can say that Lovie Smith was not the guy for the future, but you can question the process of the last 2 coaches they've hired, what Nick Caserio's done with that roster now for a couple of years here, and what they have to do going forward. I think it's a completely fair argument.
1,000%. And I think it's probably above him, and I think it goes to ownership in that franchise as well. I don't know that it's necessarily. Caserio might have his hands tied behind his back. But let's focus back on the Giants and the Eagles here. To your point, like, Davis Webb was their threw 40 times this game, right? Gary Brightwell got the majority of work here. Lawrence Cager, Marcus Johnson, and Kenny Golladay, guys.
Yes, great
there was
catch.
a Kenny Golladay sighting, and by the way, made an unbelievable catch to make this a 1-score game, like a one-handed. You're like, oh wow, that's a really good catch. Who's that? Oh my God, it's Kenny Golladay. It's
playing in this game.
72. Like, they hate Kenny Golladay, right? I mean, like, Kenny Galladay's been in mothballs all year long, and he got into this game just to give you an idea of how deep on the depth chart they were going to phone this in, and yet, they covered. And they were within a touchdown of beating the Eagles, who just looked bad. Jalen Hurts threw a bad pick in the red zone here. But if there's one lesson to be learned from this game, it's that start Boston Scott against the Giants.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what he does against the Giants. As you look at the Eagles' backfield here, Boston Scott, 9 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Not the same success for Miles Sanders here, guys. 11 rushes, 33 yards, no touchdown. He actually had the lowest points out of the 3 Eagles running backs when you include Kenneth Gainwell.
He's become very touchdown dependent because, again, in his last 5 games, he's got 5 receptions. Back-to-back games with 0 receptions. Like, he's just not being used in the passing game. And so, and they're not using him a ton as well. I mean, like 4 of the last 6 games, he's gotten 12 or fewer touches. So he's not getting the big workload he was getting in the middle of the season, and he's averaging under 5 fantasy points per game over the last 4. I mean, basically, if you got to the playoffs with Miles Sanders, he killed you once he got there. He's become a very touchdown-dependent RB2. So just something to think about as you start thinking about playoff rosters. And I'll mention that tomorrow's show, for those of you that are in playoff pools, that are in pick'em pools, we're going to do a whole sort of playoff extravaganza for people that are playing postseason fantasy football, breaking down all the matchups and the players and how we rank them.
Jay, you brought up Pete Carroll scratching out 9 wins out of the Seahawks team. That was in a, I guess we can call it thriller that went into overtime against the Rams. The Rams take them down to the wire once again. And Geno Smith, though, guys, did not have his best day, did not have his strongest finish to the season for Geno these last couple weeks.
Geno's been pretty blah for 2 months now. He just hasn't been the same guy. Maybe defensive coordinators have figured him out a little bit. He still makes all the throws. Like the touchdown to Lockett was a 100th percentile throw, as good as it gets in the NFL, but throws 2 kind of just mind-numbing picks where he just doesn't see the guy, just doesn't make the throw. Adds a little bit with his legs, 51 rushing yards. To your point, Connor, we were talking about earlier, that's a new dimension that he's really added to his game. But look, he still gets the numbers, he can make all the throws, but I think Geno was a top 5 quarterback the first 5 weeks of the season. He hasn't been that guy for a while now.
Yeah, but I think some of the challenges for Geno, I don't know that it's all on Geno. I agree with you. I mean, like he just, maybe sort of, the league has caught up with him a little bit. And there may have been, hey, maybe there was a reason that he was a backup for as many years as he was. But I also think the offensive line has played more poor recently. They've struggled. They have not been able to run the ball consistently. Kenneth Walker ended up having a nice game in this one, but like it's been inconsistent for their running game a little bit. Tyler Lockett was banged up as well. Missed I think a game or 2 for Lockett, and so I think Geno Smith is probably next year is probably a higher end QB2.
Yep.
Sort of where he was.
I do think it's instructive that with the season on the line, when they were at the goal line at the end of regulation, that they didn't let Geno throw once. They just ran Kenneth Walker into the line 3 times. Like that just obviously no one's Patrick Mahomes. That doesn't happen with Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. They put the ball in his hand. So I do think there is a little conservatism around Geno.
In fairness, that was just a criticism. I mean, let Geno cook. Is that what you're saying? Let Geno cook?
I think that maybe they know that maybe he does have a season-ending interception in him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, entirely possible. But I mean, it's just also that is, if anything, if we've learned anything about Pete Carroll over the years, it's like,
maybe he doesn't want to throw it at the goal line.
He threw at the goal line once in the Super Bowl, and never again, and never again.
The hardest lesson to learn. Right. Another conversation around this game, guys, was the missed calls that seemed to all go Seattle's way. Just another banner weekend for officiating. Hear this one from our friend Roto Pat, who said Lions going to become the first team in the league history to send in a tape of officiating errors from a game they didn't play in.
Right.
These are the Phantom missed calls here. Phantom running into the kicker, missed Geno intentional grounding, egregious personal foul on Jalen Ramsey, missed personal foul on DK Metcalf. The headbutt heard around the world on that one. Missed taunting call on Diggs.
I think the Ramsey one was the worst one.
Right.
Because while I was watching that play, my children were all screaming. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand who the foul was on. I was trying to look for the foul without the volume. That was a key call as well that really shaped the game.
Because what it did was, it ultimately, quote unquote, didn't matter in the sense that because he missed the field goal. But the Rams had tied the game up, but the game was tied. Seahawks were trying to drive down the field with not that much time remaining, and then Geno Smith running out of bounds. Jalen Ramsey is basically standing in bounds, and then they collide. And Jalen Ramsey prepares himself for impact. But again, like Geno Smith had 1 foot inbound, 1 foot out of bounds on that play. It looked to me like a clean hit.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I mean, and Geno Smith ran towards Jalen Ramsey, sort of like if we use basketball terms, Jalen Ramsey had position.
Yes.
Like if that was a basketball play, it would have been charging on Geno Smith, not blocking on Cam Akers, not on Jalen Ramsey. It would have been charging on Geno Smith, and so they call roughing the passer on Jalen Ramsey, very, very questionable. And then DK Metcalf comes over and shoves Jalen Ramsey in the face, which absolutely is a personal foul. If nothing else, it should have been offsetting, and they ignore that.
Yeah. For all the conspiracy theorists out there, the conspiracy should have gone the other way because you wanted the Lions to have something to play for against the Packers. There's no conspiracy here. It was just a couple of bad calls.
Just missed.
Yeah.
Just missing the DK play.
Just bad calls, and it's super weird because throughout the year the officiating has been awesome.
They haven't missed.
They haven't missed one call, and it's super weird that one call is where the officiating was completely inconsistent and poor and made no sense to anyone that's ever watched football before. But every other game has just been rock solid, and it's definitely not an issue for the NFL to address in the offseason. You know, this unbelievably inconsistent performance by the officials that affects people's salaries and futures and their coaching careers. It's absolutely nothing they should look at.
Particularly, I thought in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game with the sack on Deshaun Watson by Cam Hayward, I think that was a fantastic call to call that roughing the passer.
Yeah, I mean, it just... Anyway.
One Rams note from this game, Cam Akers continues his strong finish of the season.
The other day, I saw somebody in the hall just absolutely grab somebody else, just grab them like that, just randomly. And somebody came by and said, "Oh my God, should I call HR?" And I said, "No, that's completely clean. Just ask the refs in the Giants-Commanders game."
John Hussey.
Yeah, you just call John Hussey. That's totally fine. It's 100% allowed. Yeah.
Cam Akers, you were saying?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, in all seriousness, Cam Akers rushes for over 100 yards, chips in 3 catches for 24 yards. Here's the deal, guys. He's been RB5 in points per game since Week 13, Matthew Berry. Does this give you any inkling of hope for Cam Akers when we head into next summer to talk about draft rankings?
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, boy.
I haven't decided. I haven't decided on where I am on Cam Akers. But what I promise you is this, and you can just set your clock to this. If after I look at everything and I look at the tape and we see where everyone sort of settles in and what happens with, the Rams, do they rebuild the offensive line? Is McVay back or not? There's a lot of questions around the Rams. But once I sort of figure this out and I'm like, you know what? I'm in on Cam Akers. Yeah. He's going to suck. But if I'm out on Cam Akers, he's going to go off. So I just haven't decided which way I want Cam Akers to go because I can just promise you it'll be the opposite of whatever I say on Cam. Cam Akers drives me crazy.
To me, the only question is McCaffrey or Akers, who goes one.
There you go.
You got a lot of time to figure it out.
A lot of time to figure it out.
That's the good part.
But do me a favor. Will you do me a favor? Will you text me and let me know what fantasy football pregame show you're on next year, just so I can see that take? Yeah, will you let me know?
Yeah, just let me know. You and McVay, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
I just want
we'll fight it out. But we'll get there.
You're going to do something for BetMGM. You're going to go to my boys at ESPN. They seem to be hiring everyone. You want to maybe Fox will start something?
No, we make a trade to the Rams. You coach the Rams, and in return, NBC gets Sean McVay.
We get Sean McVay.
Yeah. I think I could be better than Hackett. So,
I think you could do a better job than Hackett, and I'm sure NBC would very much rather have Sean McVay than you. They'd rather have Sean McVay than the three of us combined.
I'm Anthony Brown.
Yeah.
Bring in Lamar Jackson.
There you go.
For our next game, I'll save the tease because I want to leave it to a bold prediction that Matthew Berry made on Friday. So let's take to it.
Number one is just a Week 18 bold prediction that Sam Howell just absolutely balls out for the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell balls out and balls out and plays so well that the Commanders will be like, oh no, what do we do? Do we have a quarterback or do we still have to draft one next year? There you go. All he did was throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, complete almost 60% of his passes, rounding up significantly there, and defeat the hated Dallas Cowboys. His first pass in the NFL, a touchdown to Terry McScorin, number 17 on the field, number 1 in your heart. Sam Howell, John Belushi lookalike, Sam Howell.
Tell you what, 2 things. One,
yes, sir. What do you guys think?
Your voice sounds a lot better today than it did Friday morning in Vegas.
Can't imagine why that was.
Well, you know where I was not at Hakkasan until 3 a.m. Not last night.
No, you didn't go back?
I didn't go back.
Steve Aoki round 2?
That clip, literally I left Hakkasan at 3 a.m. and I think we all met up for our pre-show meeting at 8 a.m.
Yeah. Connor and I were getting abusive messages from you at 3 a.m. calling us lightweights.
Yes.
Which to be fair was warranted.
I was out with them. These lightweights left. I'm the youngest. I'm the oldest guy on the set. Obviously, I'm the oldest guy on the set.
Youngest at heart.
Youngest at heart. Youngest in maturity level for sure. Right. And so these animals and some of the other NBC crew, we were all at Hakkasan. You guys all bailed.
Yes. At an undisclosed time,
in 4 hours.
I tapped Jay on the shoulder at the table and said, pull the plug soon, and he gave me the 10-minute sign, undisclosed time.
Yeah.
And I said goodbye to Matthew.
Yeah.
Got
Get out.
an undisclosed amount of sleep.
We got the hell out of
And
there.
we got the hell out of there.
Got the hell out of there.
It was good.
Great times.
Super smart.
But
A lot of fun.
I live bet the Commanders yesterday after they went up
Yeah,
7-0,
you said that.
expecting that Dak would get pulled. That Dak never got pulled. They
Didn't
got him
matter.
anyway. It turns out I wanted Dak in there longer and longer
Yes.
because he was playing so poorly. Sam Howell was by far the better quarterback in that matchup.
We talk about QBR just again in sort of this independent metric that ESPN came up with that sort of rates how you did in the game. And so on a scale of 1 to 100, Sam Howell had a 44.5. So he's fine, which I think is probably the right number. It was an uneven performance from Howell. Like there were definitely signs where you're like, okay, great. And then there were also some some short-armed passes. And
Like a guy that got no reps all year.
Like a guy that got no reps all year, like a guy that was, a rookie playing against one of the better defenses in the NFL. So, okay, 44.5, that was Sam Howell's QBR. Dak Prescott's, 14.8.
Yeah.
He was bad.
They dropped some picks as well. That could have been a lot worse.
Much worse. Much worse.
14 for 37.
Dude, he's had 7 straight games with interception. He's thrown an interception in 10 of the 12 games he's played this year. And to your point, this easily could have been and probably should have been a multi-pick game for Dak Prescott.
Yep, unbelievable. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe you just throw it out because they were looking ahead to next week, but certainly some concerns for the Cowboys. Haven't looked right for over a month now.
I mean, honestly, I think something that I think has sort of gone under the radar here is that so CeeDee Lamb, we all love CeeDee Lamb, 8, friend of the podcast.
You gotta stop calling him that.
But no, I'm gonna call him 8. I'm gonna call you zeros. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah,
very good.
CeeDee Lamb is 8.
Agent
Listen,
Zero.
zeros. What I'm gonna tell
Version
you
of
here
chaos
is,
didn't last long.
but who's getting significant snaps for this passing game is the ghost of T.Y. Hilton.
He's good.
He's not good. He is not good. He hasn't been good in 2.5 years.
He
hasn't been good
won
in
them that
2.5
game
years.
against the Eagles. T.Y. Hilton's fine.
Oh, man.
He
It's not
used to be
ideal.
good.
Yeah.
My point is that this is not a team, given that this is a team that was built for a championship run, that has so much invested on both sides of the ball. This is not a team that should be, and they haven't had any major injuries either, right? This is not a team that should be giving significant snaps to a street free agent that they signed less than a month ago. That's my point. That's my
fair.
point.
That's fair. I'll take it.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge Zeros.
It's approved.
By the way, I mean, Tony Pollard, 7 for 19. Their most effective running back in this game was Malik Davis, and he averaged 3.8 yards per carry. I'll tell you right now, Bucks win. I'm
There it
calling
is.
that right now.
There it is.
I think the Bucks win. Cowboys are favored, right?
3-point favorites.
Give me the Bucks.
All right. You heard it here first.
Straight up.
Like it.
In one of the more strange games of the entire day somehow, the Chargers go into the game. They get the news that game doesn't affect them at all, their playoff seeding, and they still play their starters for a large part of the game, in which we see Mike Williams carted off and hurt in this game, Jay. What was going through Brandon Staley's head in this one?
Nothing that I can explain. As someone who had a lot of money on the Broncos, expecting that he would act like a rational human being and sit everyone, that was infuriating. Public enemy number 1 in the Croucher household last night was Brandon Staley, but at least the Broncos got it done anyway, and Russell Wilson looked fantastic.
I parlayed as we talked about on Fantasy Football pregame. I parlayed the Bengals win and a Broncos win.
I followed
but
that.
I also parlayed with the lines, and the Broncos were -3.5. And so I did 2 different bets, one just straight up and one with the lines. And the one with the line did not win because the Broncos did not cover the 3.5. Here's Brandon Staley on playing the starters. Quote, "They're not easy decisions. In hindsight, it's perfect for everyone on the outside, but these games are not easy to manage." Yes, they are.
They're very easy.
They're very easy to manage. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens in that game. You're locked into the 5. So they're actually super easy to manage, which is, hey, are you important? Sit down. Are you important? Sit down. Hey, Keenan Allen, get your ass on the bench because you're also important. Austin Eckler, you're not touching the ball in this game because you're important. It's super easy to manage. I could have coached the Chargers this past week because it's easy to manage, which is anyone that's any good doesn't play in it because it doesn't matter.
It's unbelievable.
Honestly, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll coach the Chargers, and Brandon Staley can do this show next year. Who says no?
Another trade. So I'll be sitting, I guess, with
audience of
Brandon Staley
Peacock.
and Sean McVay on Fantasy Football
Chase
Happy
Daniel
Hour.
says no because he wants to play.
But the only
he?
person that was happy about the Chargers move, about what Staley did last night, I know he was enemy number 1 in the Croucher household. I did not like it as well. I have Mike Williams in a dynasty league, anyone that's a Chargers fan is like, wait, did we just lose Mike Williams for the playoffs? Did we just lose big Mike Williams?
It was quite injury prone.
Right,
Bosa got hurt as well.
Right, and Joey Bosa as well. Wait, did we just? So there's only one person in the entire universe that is pro what Brandon Staley did, and that's Sean Payton. Who's just like, that's right. Dig your own grave. Get me in there. Me and Vic Fangio, we're coming in.
Speaking of
I'll
trades.
make Justin Herbert a top 3 quarterback. I'll make him. Don't you worry about that, Sean Payton, because that's the job Sean Payton wants.
Yep.
And so, anyway, after the Chargers lose to my Swaguars this weekend,
Fire it up.
there you go. Not that I wish him to be fired, but seriously.
On the Broncos,
it's very easy to manage. That coach drives me crazy.
It is insane. On the Broncos side of this game, Russell Wilson finishes the week as QB1, as we all expected. Me and Matthew expected. Jay has not been on the Russell Wilson side of things. Let's take a look at the Week 18 quarterback leaders.
Yeah. We rode. I think we're waiting for a full screen.
Yes, we are. That's all right. Week 18 quarterback leaders led by Russell Wilson.
Oh, there we go.
Davis Mills, number 2.
He's good.
Davis Webb. It was a good day to be a quarterback named Davis. Yes. As Davis Webb comes in at QB4, Brock Purdy at 5.
Desmond Ridder.
I mean, like,
what a glorious
Mac
list.
Jones at 9.
I was showing someone this list in August.
How about Sam Howell at 7?
Well, this is week 18. That's why you don't extend the playoffs
but I mean,
to week 18.
you know who's not on the list? Jalen Hurts.
No.
Jalen Hurts, who played the whole game and played to win.
Dak Prescott, not here.
Dak Prescott, not in that list as well.
Oh, who's this?
That's my daughter, Rio Crouches for Dean, who was born in Colorado. So we put the Broncos bib on her, lifelong Broncos fan, only 7 months of her life, but little Broncos fan. And my wife was pointing at the TV being like, that's our team, the Broncos. Well, let's see if they hire Sean Payton first before we start calling them our team.
No food for that little baby, unfortunately. Thanks to Brandon Staley.
Yeah, exactly.
You can eat tomorrow. You can eat tomorrow, baby, because Daddy lost your money today.
Finally, guys, we'll close out with Sunday.
It is amazing. Like, as crappy as Russell Wilson's been all year long, he finishes as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy in Week 18. Signs of life from Latavius Murray and Jerry Jeudy in this one as well. That's the other thing that's also nuts. And I know we got to wrap. Steven, give me a second. He's in my ear yelling. It's the day after Week 18. We'll be fine. I was just going to say this. What's crazy is that all the Broncos played well in a game in which the Chargers starters played.
Yeah.
Like, Staley played to win the game, played all of his starters, still lost, had injury prone, and still made somehow Russell Wilson look good. Like, can we fire Brandon Staley right now?
Yes.
Everything that could have gone wrong for the Chargers went wrong.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
go Jags.
Everything that could have gone wrong, it's felt like for Green Bay on Sunday Night Football, went wrong, and it has the NFL world questioning. Was that the swan song for Aaron Rodgers? Let's hear Rodgers after the game.
At some point, the carousel comes to a stop, and it's time to get off. And I think you kind of know when that is. And that's what needs to be contemplated. Is it time? Also, what's the organization doing? It's part of it as well. But the competitive fire is always going to be there. I don't think that ever goes away. Sometimes it gets transferred, I think, to other things that might not ever fill that large void. But like I said, I feel good about what I've accomplished in this league, and wouldn't have any regrets walking away.
Strong necklace game from Aaron Rodgers there.
So that was the voice of Aaron Rodgers in his post-game press conference, a contemplative Aaron Rodgers. And I think what's exciting here, obviously an amazing career, a Hall of Fame career, a great career. But I think what's exciting here is that we'll get a quick answer.
I was waiting for the punchline.
And it'll be decisive. It'll be decisive, and we can either say, okay, this is exciting, let's plan for the Packers' future, or, we can, give him his roses, and he can decide what his post-playing career will be. So my expectation here is that we'll get an answer from Aaron Rodgers next couple of weeks. It'll be clear and concise, and absolutely he will not waver on it or drag it out. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to.
He's going to sign with the Jets on August 14th. You wait for it. Brett Favre first, now Aaron Rodgers.
Flat circle.
God, I wish we could bet on that. I so desperately wish
going to happen.
We could
Garrett
bet
Wilson.
on. Aaron Rodgers for Carson Wentz. Who says no? Look.
The team getting Carson Wentz.
Yeah, honestly, maybe the team getting Aaron Rodgers because he looked terrible last night. He looked terrible. I'm sorry. That's a game I picked I picked on this show on Friday. I made my bold prediction that the Lions would beat the Packers and make the playoffs. That obviously went out the window when Seattle got gifted that win by the refs. Not that I'm bitter. But what I would say is that that was a game, and so I ended up picking the Packers on Football Night in America. I went back and forth. I did say it'd be closer than I thought. I did say it'd be a field goal game, so I got that right, that the Lions would cover. But that's a game the Packers should have won. Many missed plays by Aaron Rodgers. He played bad. And I don't want to take anything away from the Lions because the Lions had an awesome season. They played really well. But, there was a lot of stuff left on the field by Rodgers. He played awful last night.
All right. And with that, we will take our first
reaction?
break. No, we have to go to break. We have to go to break.
I was told not to rebut.
What is Steven's going to do?
Jay looked at me like,
get us out.
Get us out.
Specifically told
when
no
we're back,
rebuttal.
Don't
Weekend
listen to
Warriors.
Steven. Doesn't matter what Steven says in our ears. This is our show.
Just voices in our heads.
I mean, just...
No rebuttal? I'm Ron Burgundy?
Right. Hello? Speak. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.